Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60. We have O'Reilly's Holy engine sitting right there on the ground. Now, today the plan was get it up on the engine stand and get it stripped down to see what the damage is like inside. I went and bought the engine stand, I put it all together, and then I realised the engine's seized, which means I can't get the torque converter off. Obviously, to get the torque converter off, you need to rotate the crank and undo the torque converter bolts through the bottom inspection hole, which is not an option. So, after thinking about it for probably way too long, I'm going to have to strip it on the floor. There's no other way about it. There is no way to get that torque converter off until you can rotate the crank. So, the plan was to have a nice professional view of what's going on, but I'm just going to have to do it on the floor. So, I'm going to switch to time lapse. I'm going to try and rip all the accessories off, get the wiring loom off, the R35 ignition coils out, and I'll take the single turbo manifold off as well. And then you guys will see me when it comes time to actually undo the oil pan somehow on the floor. Anyway, let's crack on with it. I want to see how bad the carnage is inside. I still can't believe that the hole in the block is only just big enough for the wrist pin. Like, the hole is about the size of my finger, and the pin must have just come out perfectly. What has happened to the piston? We will find out in this episode. All right, time lapse. Well, nearly everything is stripped off. It's a bit of a pain in the ass trying to do it when it's not on a stand. And taking the turbo manifold off took ages. But all that's left is this side of bolts on the oil pan. And we're going to see what carnage there is. With the turbo manifold off, I did have a better view in the hole. And I can't see the rod. Like, there's no evidence of the rod. The valves don't look bent. It is cylinder 2 where the hole is. Like, it lines up perfectly with the exhaust port. And the other thing, I don't think I mentioned it in the live stream, there was no metal that drained out of this sump. I actually threw the oil away today, and as I was pouring it away, like, it didn't look that bad. It didn't look any worse than oil that's come out of my car. This has been the weirdest was the only engine blow up I've ever had. But I was just expecting to see more carnage. The hole is so small in the side of the block. Are we going to see a piston and rod? Wait, stop spinning. Mind you, I'm curious why it's still... Oh, there's definitely some metal! Holy fuck. How did that not end up? So all the metal's down here, which is where cylinder 1 and 2 is. How did that not end up coming out of the sump? I wonder if because the way the engine sits when you drain it, it doesn't actually make it. God, we're gonna need a close-up. 2 seconds. All right, I've got the light. This is what we're dealing with. Looks like a rod bearing. What is this? What is that? It's sharp. What is the spring? Oh, that's the oil pump. That's a valve on the oil pump. Oh! Oh! Okay, you can see where the rod has swung down and hit the oil splash tray thing. The rod is still there. Can you see the hole? Don't know if you guys can see that. Yep, there's a window. To the window. Okay, that's interesting. So the rod is still connected. oh, that's all sharp, so it smashed the oil pickup. And, like, okay, alright. What else we got in here? The oil pump. That's part of a rod. I think that's part of a rod. I'm not sure. That's also part of a rod. Oh, it's just all metal. It's just all metal. Nice. Oh, and an O-ring and a circlip. Metal down there. All right, I'm gonna wash up because this is a bit dirty. But I might take the oil pump off, and hey, at least we can get to some of the torque converter bolts. Yeah, I'll take the oil pump off and see if we can work out how to free this engine up so I can turn it over. All right, so just so that you guys can see what I've just looked at, I got it into some better light, and there's just so much metal. It's like it's gone through a metal grinder. I cannot believe what that is. I think a lot of that is oil pump. It looks like part of a piston there. I can't really be sure. That looks like a skirt of a piston. What do you guys think? Is that part of a skirt? God knows. I think that's part of a rod. I don't want to touch it again because it's so oily. And then we've got oil pump parts. And what I'm trying to do is work out how to get the engine turned over because I need to get the torque converter off. We need the torque converter. And I was just sort of looking in here. I don't know if you guys are going to see. Try and get on the right angle. We'll try it from the bottom. I could just about see if we look. Okay, if I look across, I don't know if the camera is going to see it, but part of the piston is still up there, which is pretty amazing. So I feel like it's the rod that's failed. Well, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? What went first, the rod or the piston? But I can't see any of the top of the rod. All right, let's get this oil pump off. I'm just going to undo the chain. Yeah, we should be right. All right, let me get that oil pump off and hopefully have a better look. Okay, can we see that? Hopefully you can see it up there. It's just in shot. The piston, the top of it at least, is still complete. It's pulled the wrist pin out of it, but the piston, the top of the piston is still in place. So, oh, this is terrible. Terrible camera angle. Oh. This is what I'm laying in. Oh, imagine if this was on the stand, it'd be so nice. Yeah, oh, there you go, there you can see it. So the whole piston is still up there. It's the rod. The N54 forged rods are a bit shit. I mean, they only take like 800 crank. They won't take 900 like this one. Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, how do we spin it? How do we spin it? It's got to be that one that's seized. All the other pistons look mint. Engine looks really clean inside, apart from some rainbows on the crank where the crank has been hot across the whole motor. But that probably happened as it all come apart on track. And it ran for about 10 seconds after the knock. All right. I keep working out see if I can get this crank spun. So I just undid cylinder 1. I mean, and look at the rod bearing. I mean, there's a score in there, but I mean, that could have happened as the oil pump got smashed to pieces. The actual rod bearings themselves, this was an unopened motor. Oh, how can I clean it? Hang on. Hang on. Everything's filthy. There we go. I mean, look at that. People with S65s and S85s would die for a rod bearing like that, let alone one that's pumping this sort of power. These are a good motor. Oh, but that's the seized one. Cannot spin that and I can't undo them. I undid number 3 as well. Started to. All right. So I'm going to guess that the other cylinders definitely aren't seized. This cap just fell straight off as soon as I undid the rod bolts. All right, it's getting late enough. I've just updated all the 0 to 60 G chat members on what the go is. I want to go and edit this video so that you guys can see what's happening with it as well. I can't free the crank up. I guess if I have to, I can undo the girdle or the belly pan, whatever it's called, and actually unbolt the crank from the engine. I think maybe it'll come out enough to get the torque converter off. But that's going to be a job for tomorrow. I need to clean all this mess up. One thing I did find sort of semi-interesting, hopefully you guys can see, but there was a fire. Yeah, all this is like, I know the turbo kit is right here, but there's a heat shield that sits here, and you can see all the burning on the heat shield, and just all this black soot around where the hole was down here. Yeah, it definitely did catch on fire. And these plugs here, I'd actually, if you've been following the O'Reilly build, I'd fitted plugs a few times, and I had these connectors off quite a few times. They were not melted. This one is all now melted together, can't even get it off. So yeah, we were lucky that the smoke that we saw when it actually blew up on track was a legit fire. We're lucky it did, that other parts of it didn't catch on fire. That could have been a lot worse. Right, I'm gonna edit this video. This motor's definitely toast. There's so much metal that's gone through it. I still can't believe how much metal is in the sump. And it's also amazing how there wasn't that much evidence of the damage on the outside of the motor. Anyway, guys, if you got any tips on how to get this crank out and how to get the torque converter off, let me know in the comments below. And I'll do it tomorrow. Thank you very much. Peace.